So first, I want to say thank you to everyone for participating in the activities tonight. I know I speak for Collin, Joel, and Uta and I when we really thought or dreamed about this event. We really imagined that people were using this as a way to connect with folks and really think about what that might mean to preserve the histories in our communities. Because we saw the importance of that, and I hear that everyone also finds that important as well. I want to bring attention to where we are. This building, it used to be a furniture store called the
Ferdinand. I actually have furniture in my home.
Wow, that's powerful. Indeed, and it is now named the Bruce Boylan Jr. Building. It's now named the Bruce Boylan Building, named after Bruce Boylan Jr., the first Black president of the Boston City Council. We're also in Roxbury, now known as Nubian Square, a reclaimed space, and I think that's important to note, that there were folks who came together and said that we are going to call this place Nubian. Let's hope it stays that way. And today, we are hoping to highlight the important work that is taking place in the city and also create a connection across all media that is dedicated to the cultural responsibility of stewarding over our past and record keeping in hopes to create a better future. And so in honor of Women's Month, we have the honor of having these amazing, amazing beings sitting here in front of you. We have Lisa Simmons, founder of Roxbury Film Festival. Can we make some noise for Lisa? We have Ava Tiye, Director of Education at BAM's Brooklyn Academy of Music. Can we make some noise for Ava? And we have Ebony Gill, the founder and creator of the Boston Urban Archive. Can we make some noise for her? And so I, once again, welcome you to listen. I welcome you to really think about what conversation is taking place in this moment. And then there'll be an invitation for everyone or folks to ask questions. So we might take one or two. Because of time, I recognize that time is going. And I want to honor everyone's time. We'll just move in quickly into our conversation, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. I grew up in a Black church, so when I say yes, I need to hear some.
Yes, amen.
Hallelujah. And so we shall begin with an introduction, if you all don't mind, just introducing yourself. We talked about Sankofa, what brings us here to Boston, so I invite you to do that.
Hi, everyone. Is my mic on?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Ebony. I am the creator of Boston Urban Archive, which is a digital platform where I highlight, I feel like, the underrepresented Boston. I think when we look at mainstream media and the general idea of what Boston is and who's here, it's definitely not my experience, and I'm sure all of yours. So I kind of have taken, it was a passion project for me at first that has just really turned into like a full-time job. I feel like it's my duty and responsibility to sort of represent Boston and, you know, the work that I put out, tell stories, give insight. I went to UMass Boston and I graduated with my degree in English with a focus in journalism. And as I started to put my work out there, I decided to sort of focus my work on Boston. At that point, it was like the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And everywhere in the news, it's like, you know, New York and even like the southern states like Atlanta. I feel like every state has like a sound, right? Mm-hmm. When you think of Boston, Boston doesn't really have like a sound. And when we think of like Boston's contribution to culture, it's like, what is it? What are we known for? So I went to the Hip Hop Archive, the Massachusetts Hip Hop Archive at UMass. Sat there, going through boxes, listening to tapes, records, old club flyers, like just to get a sense of like what Boston is, what does it sound like, who is creating art, and posted that online. And then ever since, I was posting all of my findings, whether it's like social justice movements, music, newspaper clips, film. I watch a lot of old like Channel 5 news segments, like anything I can get my hands on. I'm, just analyzing, and I kind of curate it for social media, which is a very broad audience, and I've had a lot of success with it. So.
Hi, everyone. I am not a Bostonian, and so you might be asking, why are you sitting here? My name is Ava Tiye Kinsey, and I'm actually from Dallas, Texas. I currently live in New Jersey, and I work in New York, in Brooklyn. But I came to Boston, found myself here working with Collin Knight, actually, I would say about 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago, Collin had this idea for a play on some of the wonderful pillars of your community in Roxbury. So he charged me with writing a play about Melnia Cass, Ruth Batson, and Elma Lewis. And I got the biggest blessing of my life by learning about these wonderful women and learning about the lives that they touched here in Roxbury. And so these last 3 years have been full of me getting an education on Roxbury, on the institutions they created, on the many movements that they created. And really I found myself really not only inspired by these women, but seeing them pave a path and a legacy that you all are still upholding to this day. And I found myself in their work and life because I come from Dallas, as I've told you, but my grandmother was a leader in the Black Power and Civil Rights movement in the 50s and 60s in Dallas. And so hearing some of their stories and learning about their lives, I just saw so much of my family and my community there as well. So it's just been a blessing to really sit at your feet and learn from your community members. And I hope to connect with more of you today.
Hello everybody, my name is Lisa Simmons. I am the Executive and Artistic Director of the Roxbury International Film Festival. The film festival started, we're going into our 28th year this year, actually.
Wow.
And you know, I think that when it started, we never thought that we would be at 28. It was really an opportunity to showcase local filmmaker work. So in the late 90s, when all films were really about urban dramas, we had a lot of filmmakers that were here from Roxbury who weren't getting into other festivals because they were doing different kind of films. They were doing experimental films, they were doing films about love, they were doing films about family. And film festivals didn't understand that. And so with Act Roxbury, the Color Film Collaborative and Act Roxbury came together to create this film festival, just to give them the opportunity to share their vision and their voice with a larger audience. And what we didn't understand was it wasn't just for the filmmakers, it was for the audience members. It was for the people that were coming to see these films and see themselves in these films in a way in which they hadn't seen themselves. So we talk a lot about erasure of culture and erasure of Black culture. And it's not just about the history of it, but it's about that we are not a monolith, and that we have to be seeing ourselves in different ways in media. Media for me is such, and I think all of us, you know, we hear stories every single day. We see them on YouTube, we see them on Instagram, we see them in the news, we read them in the newspaper, and that we need to see that reflection of ourselves. And so the film festival was born, and we have continued with that mission to support local filmmakers and local stories. Although we are international now and we have films from all over the world, one of the most important things for that mission was to make sure that local makers, local artists were meeting people from all over the world so that they can make those connections. And I think that, like here today, as we were all sitting around talking to each other, it's those connections that make us stronger and make us understand that we're not alone. So with those, you know, with the festival and with the networking opportunities we have, and with the way in which that folks do get to connect with each other, they're learning more about their own histories and they're going out there and making more films. So I think my sister Allison's here, she's the co-director with me now. But I think for us, we have really tried to get people in Boston and in Roxbury to talk to their grandparents, to talk to their parents. I don't care whether or not you're gonna make a movie, somebody is and someone's gonna need that footage. So I want you all to think about that when you leave here today, about how you're capturing those stories of your family. You have Thanksgiving dinner, you have Easter dinner, you know, it's just like throw a tape recorder. Well, I'm dating myself. Throw your iPhone or whatever it is on the table while everyone's talking, and just capture it. I can't tell you how many people have called us and said, you you know, I'm making a movie about this, do you have any footage, right? Do you have any information? So you can be that thread that's gonna help that story be told by that filmmaker who wants to tell that story.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And so I'm really, please. So I think, you know, speaking on what you're saying, Lisa, I think all of you do it in really powerful ways, right? Like y'all are retelling a story. And so I'm curious about if there's any tension that you might hold between preserving something and letting it live and breathe and inform. Because I think y'all are all doing that in very different, but also connecting ways. So curious about if there's any tension in that that you've seen within community or within your own work. Yeah,
I can go. I think most of the material that I share is long before me, but I primarily share a lot of things from the 70s, 90s, and a lot of those people are still around. So I know that I have to be accurate. I have to do a lot of fact checking, and often I'm able to, thankfully, still go to the source. A lot of the people that I write about now, if they're not around, their families are still around. And I find them. It's not that hard, like with social media, Facebook, and as I'm writing a piece or writing up a story or, you know, editing a post to put up, I'll send it to them directly. I'll say, hi, I'm writing about you or what you did, or your family member. Sort of, do you have anything to add? What do you think about what I've written? So for me, it's really a collaborative effort with everything that I do. You know, I can write a piece, but to make it special and sentimental and just true, I have to connect with people of the community and the people that I'm writing about. So
I definitely resonate with you on that. Writing the play is called Service. And so there was one draft that came out maybe a year or a year and a half ago. This is before I had really started doing interviews of people in the community. And it was a retelling of these stories, but it was missing that authenticity, that voice beyond the page, or that voice beyond like an archival transcript, or a voice beyond even a recording that I found. I needed to really hear from you all. And so through Collin, through the dramaturg that I'm working with, Dee Walters, who was here for a moment, and through the generous support of Fresh Ink, two of their representatives are here tonight. We have a fellowship. We've been able to do more work to excavate just those real human moments, because in telling a story of these three women, it's very important to tell the history, but it's also important to show the relationships they had with one another and the relationships they had with folks in the community. And so we really needed that voice that wasn't captured on paper. And so resonate with you in saying that so many of Miss Lewis's students, so many of Mrs. Batson's students, I've been able to talk to family members, nieces, church members, and it's really added a layer, not only of authenticity, but of a snapshot of a time, which is so important to feel and see on stage, because theater is such a communicative form in that, you're there in the theater with the actors, you can feel it. And so the words that those actors are saying also need to be felt, right? They also need to make you think, oh, I remember that. Or yeah, somebody did say that. So there was that element that really needed to be woven in, to use your thread metaphor.
I think that for us, I think the tension is, the film festival celebrates people of color around the world, and that means a celebration, right? And I said this before, we're not a monolith, and that's important because there are places for every single one of these stories, whether it's an urban drama story, whether it's, like, I don't know, the documentary about somebody, in the community. And I think the tension is that, when films come in that we feel are not positively representative of the Black and brown community, but yet we know that those those stories exist, obviously in a larger world, it's like, what is our responsibility, right? To bring that to a wider audience, into a larger space. So, I think that as we, curate the festival, we are constantly thinking about that, and constantly thinking about is this part of our mission? Is this what our mission is? Is this film, connected to that mission? So I think, we know our audience. We've been doing this for 28 years. We know what our audience is going to like. We know what we can do to push our audience. But I think there is that tension of, there is a larger, obviously, breadth of who we are as Black and brown people, but we also want to make sure that we're celebrating and not having films that have tropes and stereotypes, and so there's a balance, because those stories also need to be told, right?
And thinking about history and the various forms of history, I think we can all agree that it doesn't always leave a clear trail. And so for those who don't know where to begin searching, what guidance would you offer, and what responsibility do we carry toward the histories that we uncover?
Everyone in this room has a responsibility. Everybody has a responsibility to carry those histories forward. And I already sort of said that in terms of speaking to your elders. I know, from experience, my grandfather was the stage manager for the Negro Theater between 1935 and 1939 here in Boston. And we have all of these photos, all of these clippings, all of these playbills, and there were so many times that I could have asked him, as I was doing this I graduated from Emerson, and I was doing my thesis on this, and there were so many times where I should have asked him about it and talked to him about it, and I didn't. And as he was dying, it was sort of like, oh, Gramp, I forgot to ask you. And my sister's like, I can't believe you're asking him that now. And I'm like, I know, but I just need to know, and he gave me one name or whatever, and I just, I just think of, had I captured that information during that time, he and my Aunt Mill, the documentary that I'm making would be a very different, by having his actual voice in there. So I think we all have that responsibility. We think that, they're the historian, they lived in that history, that's their history. It's up to us to get that history out of them. We oftentimes don't want to talk about it, but it's up to us to capture that.
And I know some young scholars just came into the room.
Hello, everybody.
I want to just say welcome to y'all, and thank y'all for coming up here. Wow, y'all getting a round of applause.
Yes, ma'am.
There are a couple of seats if you want to sit down, but I also wanted to fill you in. So some of the things that we're talking about is our own responsibility in preserving history. So y'all can come in a little bit. Come on in.
Y'all take y'all bags off and then just... How y'all doing?
Yeah. Hello. As you're sitting down, I want you to remember that you are now responsible to continue the legacy, and that requires that you preserve. Yes? There's some seats up here And I think there's some seats there that you can grab from that table.
Connect you to Ava and Collin.
You guys gotta remember, you're doing a presentation, gotta be quiet.
Once again, thank y'all for coming up and welcome. So the question for the folks who just came in the room is, history doesn't always have a clear trail. For those who don't know where to begin searching, what guidance would you offer, and what responsibility do we carry towards the history we uncover?
Yeah. So for the young people in the room, as you start to decide what it is you want to do, as you start to decide what are those things that are important for me. Research, as they say, is me search. So start with what you like, and really think about what you want to preserve, what you want your legacy to be, what you want to capture about this time. Because I think what we're all saying is history is happening right now, and we sometimes take the present for granted because the present is seemingly like ongoing, right? It's always now. And so right now needs to be distilled, it needs to be captured. So definitely start with whatever you like. If you like computers, start there. If you like dancing, start there. Start to find who are the folks who look like you in the fields that you're in, and try to back map that genealogy. Try to find, oh, there was somebody in Boston doing something that I liked back in the 70s, and this is what it looked like in the 70s, but this is what it looks like today. And that's how you add your kind of, your fingerprint onto the next generation, so that they can then find you and remember you.
And what about our elders of the country?
Yes, our elders. I think you gave the marching order there. Just please record yourselves. Please take pictures of yourselves. Please write down the history. Please tell young people what happened when you were alive. We want to know, because we might not be able to ask those questions later, and we need your guidance. I will say, in doing research on Elma Lewis, on Ruth Batson, and on Melnia Cass, having a record of their lives, some of them wrote, Miss Lewis had copious notes about, and has, her archive is alive and well, about Elma Lewis School of Fine Arts, right? About the NCAAA. And she wrote different histories every decade. She would say, this is the update, here's what's happening now. And that is so important, because we all can access that. And then we see her handwriting, right? And that's just something so special that makes history kind of come off the page too. So if you can, actually scribe your manuscript, if you can record your voice so we can hear it later. I have a recording of my grandmother. I interviewed her a few months before she passed away. So I have that to listen to. I can hear her, and it means so much. I can remember what she said, but then I can actually hear it. And that's when history becomes a living, breathing kind of organism. I was long-winded, sorry.
To give some examples of how I utilize what you both have mentioned. So, for example, just documenting, taking pictures, things like that. A lot of the archives that I find, for example, the Boys and Girls Club in, I believe, '89, they had the teenagers at the time, they gave them camcorders, and they had them record their days in their neighborhood. And when I found this video, I ended up sort of chopping it up for social media, but you can see their clothes and the things that they were saying, and you can see the streets that they were on in Dorchester, and it was just very nostalgic. But if their teachers weren't trying to teach them things about film and didn't give them those camcorders, if you wouldn't have that footage. The teenagers were doing dances and stuff too. It was really fun. Another fun one was Dorchester High. They actually created a slang dictionary in '87, and I had posted that recently. And that had a ton of hits, because now here we are, decades later, comparing the language that they were using in '87 compared to what we use now. And then it was connecting generations, because you see the older folks in the comments who are in high school at that time, and the teenagers now sort of making jokes with each other, that's what you said for this, and stuff like that. But then also, when I write a story, for example, I was writing about Nails by Dorothy. She was the only Black-owned nail salon on Newbury Street at the time. And she was from Jamaica, and I was looking in the newspaper archives, and I saw all of her flyers, and I found some write-ups about her. But aside from one newspaper article, I didn't really know much about her. But I'm Caribbean. My dad is from Barbados. He came to Boston when he was in his early teens. So I'm who is this Caribbean woman who came from Jamaica and opened up a nail shop on Newbury Street and was killing it, And I ended up finding her granddaughter. And her granddaughter was able to, Dorothy's still around, but she's not that like talkative, but she gave her granddaughter all of her old books that she still has, where her clients would come and like sign their names when they came in for their service, and her grandmother shared all the stories with her. So I was able to connect with her granddaughter and learn about her. So she's helping tell her granddaughter's story for me to share now with everyone else and sort of highlight her. So with my work, that's what I do a lot is, look for these like random documents through like the Boys and Girls Club or, whatever, and family members. But the only way to really do that is when families talk to each other and, talk to your parents. Their stories are cool. They know a lot. Your grandparents are cool. They have a lot to share. And when they're gone, like that's all on you, So get what you can while you can.
Word. I think what I love about all of your stories is that even though there's a different medium that you're using to retell the story, these mediums can expand. And I think it's really beautiful that you're using social media. It's really beautiful that you're using plays. It's really beautiful that you're using video. But to me, it's things that you have access to that you can then sort of highlight the beauty of the history. And I think for all of us in this room, right, our responsibility is that we use the things that we already have access to. That you don't need to purchase 5,000 things in order to record this, but you can record your grandma's recipes while she's cooking them, or you can record your Uncle them and the ways that they think about things. And we could use what we have. Does everyone picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, beautiful. And I think the other thing that's really striking to me is that all of you guys are thinking about multi-generational approaches. And I think it's really beautiful that these young folks came up here. I think it's by design that y'all came up here because there's so much wisdom in this room.
That's right.
And there's so many people who have lived in Boston that can tell you so much about what it might mean to live in the past and what you can also share about your own living, right? Excuse me, right? Okay, beautiful. And so the next question is in reference to the practice of Sankofa. One of the things that a lot of people, I think, remember about Sankofa is that there is a reaching back. But people forget that there's the importance of moving forward, right? Like the feet facing forward is very important. And so I'm curious about what you might imagine the future to look like with the tools and methods that you've used to engage with the past.
Well, what I envision and what I'm hopeful for with Boston and the work that I'm doing, and with a focus on representation and just showing like the Black experience here and giving the world a better view of what Boston really is, instead of just being super Irish and educational and having the best institutions. I want there to be like more spaces where we can appreciate culture, more exhibits. I was talking about like the Brooklyn Library, how they do exhibits all of the time. Jay-Z did his exhibit there and put all of his like archival material, from his whole career. Like, I want spaces like that in Boston, where you can go to a public library and like you have like a collection of like all of the musician stuff, and it's a space where you can go and see and hang out, and I want more spaces like that. And then also too, because I'm in like digital media, I would love to see more like documentaries and films and stuff representing this Boston.
We can get that for you. No, I mean, I think that I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I think that the future is that we do own our own spaces, and that we have the opportunity to have our own theater where we can screen our own films. In the 30s and in the 40s, there were like 5, right, Paul and Mom? There were like 5 movie theaters in Roxbury, down in Dudley. There were so many things. There were jazz clubs. There were all of these things that were happening, and to be able to have a generation that is coming back into this arts world and can create that for us, I think is really important. With media, film. You're grappling with AI, and you're grappling with deep fakes, and you're grappling with what is real and what is not real. So for me to be able to do this preservation, I think it's just really important that we stick with that mission, right? And that we talk to, as we keep saying it over and over again, the authentic stories, that are coming out, that you're capturing from people that are in Roxbury, in and around Roxbury, that can give that authenticity to the work that people are doing. And so we are, you know, I mean, I love what you're doing, being able to capture all that and then using social media to do that. And I think that there's some sort of synergy that we can do together with Rox and with what you're doing. Okay.
I think that one thing that we can learn to bring forward from Elma Lewis, Ruth Batson, and Delia Cass, and so many other community members from Roxbury, is they didn't wait, right? They weren't waiting for the city to say, okay, now you can have your own theater, or now you can have this service. They did it. And that's something that I hope the young people can take away today, that we all in this room remember. We don't have to wait. Theater is continuously defunded, right? Live theater, specifically, you know, theater in Black spaces, is few and far between countrywide. And so it's thinking about how we can mold the art form into what we need it to be. You know, it's forums like this. Can we do a reading here? Absolutely. You know, like thinking about things of that nature, where we're not thinking it has to be this linear path to success. Because success is really us coming together and building a thing that we need, right? Filling the void. And we have everybody in the room we need right here. So it's just remembering that. And I think that that's something that we might take for granted today. Another thing I wanted to say is we're all archivists. Well, I'm not on social media anymore, but if you are on social media, you're an archivist. You are taking what's happening right now and making sure that somebody years later can search you and find you. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will have a record of your life. And so definitely use that, because it's at all of our fingertips, and that's kind of how we can push our narratives forward.
Indeed, Reckonings, we have this saying that like building an archive is like saying we were here and we are here. So that I think that's such an important reminder, is that we all have the responsibility to preserve, to record, but we are all also archivists, that we are all doing this work anyway. So in this moment, I just want to open it up for 1 or 2 questions. So I have 1 question here and 1 question here. So I think I'll just share my mic then. I'll go here and then come back, okay?
Thank you so much for what I like to say is picking up the mantle and running with it. And I want to thank you for holding it down for an older group of people. But even before that, I'd like to ask, probably you, Lisa Simmons, I think that there's a generation missing, and that's the generation who were the beneficiaries of the struggles of civil rights, who get to go off to college, who become first college students outside of the state of Massachusetts, and then because of trauma decide not to come back. And when they do come back, these archives that you need go in the trash, because trauma has a lot to do with whether they see it as valuable, as you may, or whether they just see it as hardening. Because there's 2, as we talked about at this table, there's 2 different Bostons. There's the Boston where you are the beneficiary of those who struggled in the 50s and 60s in Massachusetts to make things available, for you to even be able to sit here and have this type of a conversation that at one time might have happened in a church house. But the churches in this neighborhood have been pushed out, either through eminent domain or property taxes or parking issues, where the new residents came in and they didn't want double parking because most of the people who used to live in the neighborhood moved to the suburbs, came back on Sundays, and needed more parking than they may have needed in the past. So the question after making my comment for Lisa is, what part of and just doing what you've done and then sharing that information to the next generation of people who will take the mantle and run with it. Have you found have you struggled with in terms of those who have taken the creativity and have left and don't have no desire in coming back to build this new Boston that you're envisioning?
I mean, so yes, thank you for your comment. I think what we're seeing with the Roxbury International Film Festival is, 28 years ago, we had these local folks who were never going to leave Boston. They're still here. They're still with us, and still making movies. Still, as alumni, coming to the festival, and for a period that didn't happen, right? For a good 15 years, we didn't see any folks really from Roxbury, from Boston, submitting and making movies. But what we're seeing now is the next generation who were coming to the festival maybe with their parents, knew about the festival through the high school programs like Madison Park and West Roxbury High, who have media arts programs. Because we do a huge student film program also at Roxfilm. And they're now making movies. And now they're making movies about Boston, about their experiences in Roxbury. They may be living now in Brockton, and they may be living in other places, but Roxbury International Film Festival has sort of become home to them. And I think last year was like one of the years where we had the most number of filmmakers from here. And that to me is success. That to me is saying, being in this game, as long as we've been in this game, it's starting to pay off. Mm-hmm. And that the kids who were coming just to watch became engaged and became filmmakers themselves, and are now capturing those histories. So this generation of those who were, here with us 28 years ago, who were also just maybe graduating from college and learning from Mass Art or where Emerson or wherever they were at school, they're breeding a next generation. And so yes, there's been that drop off. There have been people that didn't want to come back. There are people that don't apply to Roxbury because they're like, that's Boston. Why do I want to go to Boston? Mm-hmm. And when they've come to Boston, we have made sure that they understand it's a different Boston, mm-hmm. that this Boston is for them, and that there is a community who embraces them. So, 10 years from now, let's hope that even is larger. Let's hope that population of kids that are here and making, music videos and whatever they're doing actually become filmmakers and documenting the history of where they live, or making narrative films with their friends about who they are as teens. And so yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I've seen it.
Would you say then your preservation was also educating
yes.
for the next generation?
I think that's important. I think it's important every time people come to the film festival to see the kinds of films that are in the festival. They are understanding that that's something that they can do, right? And they're like, oh, that story, I have that story. I have that documentary story, or I want to make this narrative film about my friends growing up on Intervale Street or something, right? And we're going to make it fun, and I just saw that technique, and that's amazing, and then they come back. So I think seeing that kind of thing is exciting, is very exciting to us.
Thank you.
First off, I want to say thank you for inviting my large crowd into you guys' space. So first, my name is Rufus Williams. I'm a recent graduate of Morehouse College, and I'm currently in Boston doing my master's at Northeastern. And I think it's like one of those things, it's like, dang, I think I was meant to be in this room today, because my great-grandmother, she's 102 years old, right? Yes. And I literally just spoke to my uncle who's taking care of her. I was like, I feel like we should do an interview to archive her life. And I was wondering, how does one do that? Because, I've had those talks with her, since I moved away for college, and I felt like I'm just now getting to really know her, right? Because I'm 24 years old, and she she's known me my whole life, right? But there's so much to her besides me just seeing her as my great grandmother. And I was just wondering, how does one archive 103 years of life, right? Because like we don't know how long we have with her left, right? So that's my question to you guys.
Do it now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I mean, the thing is that you can't go into it with an idea that you're gonna make a film of her life or that you're going to capture everything. You just need to go into it. You just need to go there with your phone, and you just need to record the conversation. It doesn't have to be scripted. It just has to be a conversation that you're having with her. You will use that later on down the line, whatever you want to do with it, but you have to capture the footage. And you have to, if you can film her, she might not want you to film her. Audio is fine, but I think it's important that someone get a phone recording to her. Audio is important, so I'm going to go back to a tape recorder, some kind of high-level recorder or an iPad, something that you can capture good audio that you can use later on.
I would say a great entry point is letting your great-grandmother know what you want to do. Because I know with my grandmother, I had to say, this is my phone. I had to, walk her through it because she was like, what's happening, right? What are we doing? But a great talking entry point is photos. Ask her to get the oldest photos you have and just ask her who those people are. And what's gonna come out is stories you didn't even expect.
Right.
Because she's gonna say, this is so-and-so's second cousin on your granddaddy's side. And you gotta know about the person who's not even in the picture in order to understand why the picture was taken. And so that really helps you to kind of map your family history and what was going on in the community. You can come in with questions, but really just let her tell her story. And pictures are such a great way. Also, I would see my grandmother's face light up when a certain photo was put in front of her, and then a question that I might have had is going to get answered. I don't even have to say anything. Just she's going to take you where you need to go. And then you write down follow-up questions. You might not want to overwhelm and have her answer all the questions you have in a day, and then ask for permission to come back, and that helps your relationship with her. And that takes your relationship with her to a different place, right? Because then she can see that you value everything she lived, and you are the heir to that. So that would be my advice.
Thank you.
I was gonna say the same thing, start with the photo albums. Like literally mirroring what you just said. But I think for me, as I go through archives, there's so much missing from a photo, and I wish that I had someone who had a bit more information about it. Like when, as I go through like libraries, I'll find an album and it'll be like a beautiful family, and it'll just say South End, Lower Roxbury, 1945. I don't have a name, I don't have anything else, and they may be like in front of a business or something, and then I'll try to look up that business and see like what street they were on, but there's just really no context to a lot of old beautiful photos, so just having that context that she would be able to provide is a beautiful thing.
Oh, shit.
What's her name?
Can we just give our panelists a round of applause? Y'all can do a better job than that. Y'all can get and also give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here and staying with us. Y'all didn't do a good job. I said give yourselves a round of applause. Y'all tired?
Tired.
A little bit. So in this moment, I think we're approaching our closing. I would like to invite the team back up here. One, we want to say thank you so much for coming and spending your evening with us and really trusting us with showcasing histories that you want to highlight, that is important to highlight. I hope we walk away with the message that we are all archivists, that we all have the responsibility to preserve, that it doesn't also stop here. That we continue this, that there's more conversations to be had, and there's more neighborhoods to visit, there's more history to highlight. And I'll invite y'all, come on up here. I'll invite y'all up here to, maybe y'all want to say something? Is that all right?
I just, I just want to thank you guys. I just want to thank you guys for coming. Was really nervous about the people showing up to this event and to see all the elders and the intergenerational crowd here. It just means a lot to me. And we worked for months on trying to put this together, so I just want to thank the team for being thought partners, for putting this together. Thanks to the Reckonings Project and to Joel for everything that they were able to do. And we really hope to see you at our next event too. We want to keep this going. So just thank you guys for being here tonight.
I'd just like to give thanks. Mama Marimba Ani said in a wonderful book, the wonderful African-American scholar, in the book Yurugu, she talked about the distinguishing of power over and power with. I'm turning that into, I don't trust nobody who just uses the word power, more powerful and all of that. But there is deep power with these folks here tonight, you all tonight. There is deep power with as a grammar. So I give thanks for everybody taking us the time.
Yeah, many thanks from me as well. And we also, all four of us, would very much appreciate it. I know we've done a lot, but if you could take our program with you and maybe tonight or tomorrow could fill out our survey, it will just help us in hearing yet more from you and in conceiving future meetings. So we would be so grateful if you took some time to do that. And we really hope to see you again at such a gathering. And again, thanks for the super powerful messages that you gave us, the agenda of responsibility that you gave all of us tonight. And again, Gija, I think, will say a few words about the possibility of just staying a little bit longer, perhaps to connecting with someone whose address you don't have yet, so that you can build networks about this kind of work today as well.
Okay. All right, so at this moment, we have officially just transitioned from our panel, but this is an opportunity to connect with someone in the room. Don't leave without speaking to someone and saying, hello, I really enjoyed what you said, or I would love to hear more about. The invitation is still open to contribute to our memory wall, to look through our lookbook, but at this moment, opportunity to connect with those across from you, beside you, in front of you. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you all.
And please fill out the survey so we can do this more.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for facilitating.